Have you ever wondered why you feel drained after hanging out with certain people? Why some friendships leave you doubting yourself instead of feeling supported? What if I told you it's not bad luck? It's a pattern, a dangerous one. And if you don't recognize these 7 red flags in people, you might keep wasting your love, your trust, and your life on those who only take. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something personal. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you called your best friend? If yes, this video might explain why it happened. And if not, this video might help you avoid that heartbreak entirely. So stay with me till the very end. This isn't just a video. It might be the beginning of a better, stronger, more peaceful you. Hit that subscribe button and like this video if you're ready to protect your energy, your peace, and your heart. Now let's begin. Number 1, they disrespect boundaries, and that's where it all starts. Let me ask you something. Have you ever loved someone so much that you gave them the key to your entire world, only to realize they kept walking in and out as if your heart was just a hotel lobby? Close your eyes for a second and think about that one person who made you feel seen. At first, they laughed at your jokes, called you their person, checked on you daily. And just when you started feeling safe, they began breaking things. Not things you could see, but the invisible parts of you. Your boundaries, your lines, your little no's that came from a place of deep self-respect. You told them you needed time. They said, don't be dramatic. You asked them not to bring up your past again. They laughed and did it anyway. You needed space. They showed up uninvited, arms wide open, pretending it was love. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy, we'll call him Zane. Zane met a girl named Maya. In the beginning, Maya felt like spring after a long, cold winter. He told her about his past, his insecurities, his silent battles, and she listened, or at least pretended to. But the moment he tried to set even the smallest boundary, like not texting past midnight when he was with family, or not joking about the one thing that made him feel small as a man, she'd say, "You're too sensitive. You don't trust me. Why are you acting like this? I'm your girl." And like so many of us, Zane started second-guessing himself. Maybe he was too much. Maybe love meant compromise, even if that compromise felt like betrayal. But here's the truth Zane had to learn the hard way. When someone disrespects your boundaries once and you let it slide, they don't stop. They learn. They learn exactly how much they can hurt you and still be forgiven. Ask yourself this right now. Have you ever fallen in love with someone who made you feel guilty for asking for basic respect? And deeper than that, why did you stay? It's not because you're weak. It's because love has a way of making us hopeful. We see the best in them, while they keep pushing us to the edge of ourselves. But love is not about always giving. Love, real love, respects the space where your soul breathes. It honors your no's as much as your yeses. And if someone can't hear your stop, they don't deserve your stay. So the next time someone dismisses your boundaries in the name of closeness, look deeper. That's not love. That's manipulation dressed up in sweet words. And you deserve so much more than that. Number 2, they compete with you instead of celebrating you. Tell me something. Have you ever shared good news with someone you care about, and instead of seeing joy in their eyes, you saw something else? A pause, a fake smile, a subtle shift in tone? Maybe you told your friend you finally landed that dream job, and instead of saying, "I'm proud of you," they said, "Must be nice. My manager still treats me like trash." Or you shared a photo after working so hard on your body, your health, and they replied, "Yeah, but you still have a long way to go." Why do some people turn your light into a shadow they run from? Let me share a story with you. There was a woman, let's call her Nadia, and she had a best friend named Alina. They grew up together, went to the same school, dreamed the same dreams. But somewhere along the way, Nadia started growing. She read more, learned to say no, started her own business, found her voice, and used it. She thought Alina would be happy for her, but something strange happened. Every time Nadia shared a win, Alina brought the mood down. "Oh, so you think you're better now?" Or worse, she'd stay silent altogether. Silence can scream louder than words sometimes. What Nadia didn't realize was this. Alina didn't want to grow. She wanted Nadia to stay small with her, because her comfort depended on Nadia staying the same. Let me say this to you straight. A true friend doesn't feel smaller when you rise. They feel stronger because of your success. If someone turns your joy into a threat, they were never celebrating you. They were celebrating the fact that you weren't ahead yet. And this is the part that hurts. Sometimes the people who love you the longest love the older version of you, the one they could understand, the one they could predict, the one who didn't challenge their ego. But growth exposes everything fake around you. Have you ever had someone roll their eyes at your dreams? Have you ever felt like you had to downplay your success so they wouldn't feel insecure? That's not friendship. That's competition wearing a familiar face. And love, real love, is not a race. It's not a scoreboard. It's not who's doing better. It's how can I lift you while I rise too. So if someone claps louder for strangers than they do for you, if they always have something to one-up, if your good days feel like a threat to them, it's time to step back and ask, am I sharing my victories with someone who's silently praying I fail? You deserve to be celebrated, not compared. Cheered for, not challenged. Loved for who you are, not resented for who you're becoming. Never forget, jealousy can wear the mask of friendship. Don't let it stay. Number 3, they gossip about others constantly, and one day, that other will be you. Let me ask you something very real. Have you ever had a friend lean in and say, okay, don't tell anyone I said this, but... And suddenly you're pulled into someone else's private story. Maybe it felt exciting. Maybe you felt trusted. But deep inside, didn't a little voice whisper, if they're telling me this about them, what do they say about me when I'm not around? I want to tell you a story. There was a guy, let's call him Harris. Haris had a friend named Kashif. Kashif was the type of guy everyone liked being around. Funny, charismatic, always had a story to tell. But here's the thing about Kashif's stories. They were never his own. He always had the inside scoop. Who cheated on who? Who was broke but pretending? Who was faking their whole relationship online? And Haris? He listened. At first he felt lucky, privileged, like he was part of the inner circle. But then one night everything changed. Haris opened up to Kashif, told him about a relationship he was struggling in, how his girlfriend had been distant, how he was worried and heartbroken. 2 weeks later, a random friend brought it up at a party, word for word, details only Haris had told one person, Kashif. That night Haris realized something brutal. A person who feeds you gossip will one day serve you as the main course. Because gossip isn't about connection, it's about control. It's about being seen as the one who knows everything, even if it means destroying someone else's trust. Let me ask you, have you ever felt your stomach twist after someone told you a secret you never wanted to know? Did it make you wonder who really owns the stories being told behind your back? Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Gossip feels like bonding until it doesn't. Until you're the one being discussed. Until your worst moment becomes someone else's entertainment. And it always starts small. Innocent tea, little whispers. But eventually it becomes a habit. And a friend who gossips habitually is a walking red flag. They don't protect. They don't hold sacred what's personal. They perform trust, but they don't honor it. A real friend doesn't need to pull others down to stand tall. They don't build connections by breaking confidences. They protect your name in rooms you're not in. So if you're around someone who always brings gossip to you, ask yourself, what are they doing with your name? When you're not around to protect it, you don't need that kind of poison in your peace. You need loyalty and silence. You need someone who would rather be boring than be betraying. Let that kind of friend go, and don't look back. Number 4, they make you feel guilty for growing. Because your growth exposes their stagnancy. Have you ever been afraid to share your progress with someone you love? Not because they'd hate it, but because you knew they'd make you feel bad for it? Have you ever hidden your glow just so someone else wouldn't feel dim? Let me take you into a moment. There was a girl, Zoya, soft-hearted, loyal to the bone. She had a best friend named Rita. They'd been inseparable since their teenage years. Same jokes, same struggles, same plans to never change. But then something happened. Zoya did change. She started reading more, got a new job, woke up earlier, stopped chasing people who never showed up for her. She started speaking up, saying no, saying I deserve better. And Rita? She didn't say much at first, just little comments, subtle jabs. Oh, look at you, Miss Motivation now. Wow, you act like you're too good for us these days. Don't forget where you came from. Zoya laughed it off at first. She thought it was just teasing, but over time something in her heart started dimming. She stopped sharing her wins, stopped posting about her progress. She even skipped the gym some days, just so she could sit and make Rita feel included. Until one day she realized something painful. She wasn't growing anymore. She was shrinking to stay lovable to someone who no longer clapped when she bloomed. Let me ask you, have you ever downplayed your own evolution just to protect someone else's ego? That's not friendship. That's guilt in disguise. And it's a prison wearing familiar clothes. Here's the unspoken truth most people don't admit. Some people don't hate your growth. They hate what it reminds them they're not doing. They see you rising, and instead of getting inspired, they get defensive. Because your discipline shines a light on their laziness. Your healing reveals their wounds. Your peace irritates their chaos. And instead of saying, "I teach me," they say, "You've changed," as if change is a sin. As if staying broken together is more noble than rising apart. But listen closely, my friend. If someone only liked the version of you that tolerated pain, stayed small, stayed silent, they were never in love with you. They were in love with your familiarity. True friends evolve with you. Or at the very least, they cheer for your evolution, even if it means they get left behind. If someone makes you feel guilty for finally choosing yourself, that's not love, that's emotional control. Let it go. Because growth is sacred, and anyone who tries to shame you for becoming better was never meant to walk the path with you. Your healing will offend the ones who benefited from your brokenness, but that's not your problem anymore. Walk on. Shine louder. Number 5, they keep score, not loyalty, and that's how they control you without chains. Let me ask you a raw question. Have you ever been in a friendship where every kind act came with a receipt? Where the person made you feel like you owed them for their time, their help, their love? You're not alone. And if this has happened to you, then you know, some people don't love you. They just keep you in emotional debt. Let me take you into a story. There was a guy named Usman. Quiet, kind, always the one who'd show up for others, even when no one showed up for him. And his closest friend was Tariq. Tariq was funny, dependable, and the kind of person who made you feel like you belonged, until you didn't. Every time Usman made a mistake, even a small one, Tariq would bring up a list. Remember when I covered your rent last year? I stood by you when your ex left. I always give and you just take. And that's when Usman realized something. Every act of love Tariq gave came with strings. Invisible but tight. So tight they started choking him. He started walking on eggshells, saying thank you too many times, offering things he didn't even want to give just to balance the score. It wasn't friendship anymore. It was emotional bookkeeping. Let me ask you, have you ever felt the same? Like you couldn't say no, because they'd remind you of everything they've done for you? That's not love, that's leverage, and you're not in a friendship. You're in a silent contract you never signed. See, real love doesn't keep a ledger. Real friends forget the favors. They don't pull them out like weapons when you mess up. But the ones who keep score, they do it for power. They want to keep you small, keep you feeling like you owe them your silence, your loyalty, your energy, even when it hurts. And it works, because good people like you remember, you care, you don't want to be ungrateful. But here's the hard truth. Gratitude should never be used as a leash. If someone makes you feel like their kindness is a currency you can never repay, you are being controlled, not cared for. You're allowed to outgrow someone even if they once helped you. You're allowed to speak up even if they once protected you. You're allowed to set boundaries, even if they once broke down their own for you. Because love isn't a scoreboard. It's not I did this so you owe me. It's I was there because I wanted to be, not because I'd hold it over you later. So if someone reminds you of your debts more than they remind you of your worth, let that friendship go. Loyalty isn't proven through memory, it's proven through forgiveness. And if they can't forgive you without a price tag attached, that's not your tribe. Set yourself free. Number 6, they gaslight your reality, making you doubt what you lived. Let me ask you something you might be afraid to say out loud. Have you ever been in a relationship or friendship where no matter how clearly you explained what hurt you, they made you feel like the problem? You said, "That made me feel small." And they laughed and said, "You're too sensitive." You said, "Please don't joke about that." And they replied, "Relax, you're imagining things." You told your truth, and they twisted it into a lie. That's not just disrespect, that's gaslighting. Let me take you into a story. There was a girl, Heba, smart, empathetic, a quiet observer of people. She had a boyfriend named Samir, who at first seemed like the perfect listener. He'd hang on to her every word, made her feel like she mattered, made her feel safe. But slowly things began to shift. If she got upset, he'd say, "Wow, you always create drama." If she called out his lies, he'd say, "You heard that wrong." And when she'd cry in front of him, he'd shake his head and say, "Why are you always overreacting?" And Heba, she started believing him. She thought, maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I did misunderstand. Maybe I just expect too much. But here's the truth. Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's making you doubt your own memory, your own feelings, your own sanity. And it's one of the cruelest forms of manipulation that exists because it doesn't just break your trust in them. It breaks your trust in yourself. Let me ask you, have you ever sat in silence after an argument and asked yourself, am I crazy? Was I wrong to feel hurt? Maybe they're right, I'm the problem. If you've ever felt that, I want you to know, you're not broken. You're not too emotional. You're not difficult. You were just made to feel that way by someone who couldn't handle accountability. Because here's what gaslighters do. They shift the blame so you stay confused. They deny your truth so they stay in control. And they twist your reality so they never have to face their own. That is not love. That is emotional warfare in slow motion. And the longer you stay, the more you forget who you were before them. Before the doubt. Before the confusion. Before the constant need to explain why your feelings are real. A real friend, a real partner, a real love listens, seeks to understand, even when you're crying, especially when you're hurting. So if someone makes you feel like your pain is an exaggeration, that your experiences are invalid, that your feelings are too much, it's not you, it's them. And it's time to walk away, not because you're weak, but because you finally remembered your truth. You deserve to be seen, heard, and believed. Number 7, they disappear when you're in pain. And that's when you learn everything. Let me ask you something that might hurt to admit. Have you ever gone through a heartbreak, a loss, or a dark chapter in your life, and looked around expecting familiar faces to stand by you, but instead all you saw was empty space? No calls, no messages, just silence. From the very people who once laughed with you during your highs. Why does it take pain to show us who's real? Let me share a story. There was a man, Adil, loved by many. Life of every party, always the one others leaned on when life hit them hard. He'd drop everything to help a friend, even at 2 a.m. He believed in being that person for people. And in return, he thought, surely they'd be there when he needed it. Then one day, life broke him. His mother passed. He stopped smiling. He stopped showing up. And you know what else stopped? The calls, the invitations, the people. Days passed, then weeks. Not a single "how are you holding up?" Not a single "I'm here." The same people who once called him brother started posting stories, tagging each other, living, laughing. While Adil sat quietly in his room wondering, was I ever really loved? Or was I just useful? Let me ask you now, straight from the heart. Have you ever been someone's light, only to find them nowhere when your world turned dark? If so, let me say something no one probably told you. It's not your fault. It was never about your worth. It was about their inability to love someone who wasn't fun to be around. See, some people only love your laughter, not your silence. They love your strength, but not your struggle. They disappear, not because you're too much, but because your pain exposes their lack of depth. Real friends. They don't run when the mood changes. They don't vanish when you need nothing but a shoulder and some quiet understanding. They don't need you to be perfect, smiling, performing. They sit with you in your lowest moment. No explanations, no pressure. If someone ghosts you during your grief, if they're busy when your world is falling apart, but always available when there's a celebration or a selfie to take, that's not a friend. That's a spectator. They loved the version of you that entertained them, but they didn't love you. So remember this. Pain is a purifier. It burns away the surface, and what's left is truth. Don't beg people to stay when you're hurting. Let their absence speak louder than their promises ever did, because the ones who sit with you in silence, who bring soup instead of advice, who hold space instead of expectations, those are the ones worth keeping. And the rest? Let them go, not out of bitterness, but out of love for yourself. Now let's take a breath, because if you've seen even one of these 7 traits in someone you call a friend, it's not just a red flag. It's a wake-up call. Not everyone who laughs with you wants the best for you. Not everyone who stays close stays for the right reasons. And sometimes, the people you defend, the hardest are the very ones quietly, breaking you from the inside. You see, friendship is supposed to feel like home, safe, solid, sacred. But if it feels like you're constantly explaining your heart, defending your growth, or doubting your reality, that's not friendship. That's emotional survival. Let me tell you something you might need to hear right now. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. Not because of history, not because of loyalty, not even because they once helped you. You are allowed to outgrow people, even the ones you once thought you'd never live without. Because protecting your energy is not selfish, it's sacred. It's necessary. The truth is, your life will change the moment you stop begging for love from people who only bring confusion, guilt, and silence. And the moment you realize you deserve to be surrounded by those who celebrate your joy, honor your truth, respect your growth, and stay when you're at your worst. That's the moment everything begins to heal. Let the wrong ones fall away. Let your circle shrink. Let your peace expand. Because sometimes, peace starts where certain friendships end. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.